So really quick before we get into this video, if you end up liking this video, please like, subscribe, and comment, and all of that jazz. It really helps out the channel, and I do appreciate it. But this video is kind of a part 2 of Friday's video, in which case it was about a post Meddler made, revealing what Riot kind of wants to do for the mid-season update for League of Legends Season 8, the season we're currently in. They want to make it so they can open up bot lane to other classes of champion. Not necessarily kicking out marksmen of the meta or even out of the lane, but make it so that if something else is viable, you play something down there, or something that's already kind of successful down there can be better supported and succeed. But also furthermore to make the stepping stone so that bottom lane is just more open to more classes more often. So first, the way I'm reading into this post is what they want to do first is be like, hey, Mordekaiser with a melee support, they want to support that a bit more. Or if you're someone that likes to go with Yasuo down there with the Alistar, and once you hit level 6, it's a field day, they want to support stuff like that a bit more often. Cassiopeia was in the bottom lane, Ziggs already made it to the bottom lane for quite some time last season. They want to support those things and those playstyles and make bottom lane a bit more open for the sake of balance and team comps. They want to make it so you don't always have to run a marksman in the bottom lane. You can run that marksman somewhere else and then run whatever you want bottom lane, bottom lane. And there's a couple of layers to this, of course, right? We'll start with the AD carry side and then we'll move into the mage side and then beyond. On the AD carry side, they're not saying that you can't play marksman down there. If you're a marksman only player, your only joy in this game is playing AD carries, or you only know those kinds of champions because if you get your secondary role, it's like mid lane and you just take Lucian mid lane because Lucian can kind of go everywhere right now. Or you still play something like Corki who's kind of like a marksman. My point is, if that's kind of your style of playstyle, they're not saying don't do that or we dislike you or anything like that. They are saying, however, what you might be playing against in your lane might not be other marksmen for very long when they do this change in the mid-season update. Furthermore, they're not saying that marksmen won't be able to go at least to another lane if someone else wants to take something else down in the bottom lane, like a Cassiopeia, like a Mordekaiser, like a Yasuo, like a mage of some sort. So in other words, even though some marksmen right now are balanced around a dual lane, they kind of need peel or protection in the laning phase, like a Kog'Maw, like a Jinx, like a Caitlyn. You won't really see Kalista top lane by herself. Maybe down the road, like let's say this is the mid-season update, in the preseason, and that's one of the questions I'll start with by passing this question on to you that you can comment with, is do you think if they're going to do this for the mid-season, then that means some marksmen that rely on being in the dual lane will be balanced for, let's say, preseason of Season 9 to be able to succeed in a solo lane? So that way, if you want to take a mage or something in the bottom lane, but you, as someone that plays, let's say, Kog'Maw, wants to still play Kog'Maw, you actually can play top lane because they change him like a little bit, whether it's buffs or nerfs or the way a certain mechanic works on him, so that he can survive a bit better in the solo lane without just dying because Jarvan's just camping his lane, because without Flash, he really has no escapes, and Lee Sin or Jarvan or whatever can just get on top of him and destroy him. Same with Jinx or Caitlyn or any of those kind of things. Maybe that's what we're looking at in the preseason. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm going to bring it back to this, but I want to leave you guys with that question, a point to talk about in the comment section down below with other people if you want to. But on the marksman side, maybe that's just what this means, is that, hey, you can still play them down there, but you'll be playing against something that maybe you're not used to playing, or you can play them successfully in another role, so you don't necessarily have to stop playing AD carries if that's your thing. That's the fun you have playing this game. You only play this game because you love playing Lucian, or you love playing Jinx with her resets, or Tristana, or whatever. Those champions won't have to go away. But the idea here is if you honestly do look at other lanes, they're not known for one class of champion. They're looked at as a top lane mains, mid lane mains, junglers. There's a variety of junglers there, from divers to tanks to the AP threats like Elise and Nidalee. Supports even, they have the peel supports, the healing supports, but they have the engage supports and tank supports. AD carries right now, that's just kind of it in the bottom lane. You just play AD carries. It's all physical damage. We need some mixed damage, so we get Kog'Maw. But even then, he's mixed damage, so he still is some physical damage, even though he probably will be the best choice if you're going against a lot of tanks and AD tanks like that. If you go Kog'Maw, you probably have the most success. But my point is that what they want to make it is so that you can do something else bottom lane. Right, I brought up Mordekaiser because Mordekaiser, he was an experiment about, putting a melee champion in the bottom lane. And as I mentioned in the previous video, for me, it was very easy to bully him out of the lane. He didn't have range, I had range, I just win this matchup. Even with a support, it just wasn't working out because even though he had a support, I'm in a dual lane too, so I have a support. So I'm not trying to 1v2 here and then maybe have an advantage if you get the jump on me. No, I have a support too, and that's just how this works. So then how does it work that you support champions down there? Well, that's how we're going to transition to moving on to talk about mages a little bit. With mages, the concern came up with, well, we had Mordekaiser and that failed. We had Ziggs, and it was very annoying because you just get poked down, and with the right support, he's protected, so you can't even counter engage on him, and then he just takes your tower, and that's just kind of it. How are you going to stop something like that from happening? It was kind of brought up in this post that if Zir, for example, is just poking you down from a distance, maybe they make him synergize better with hard engage supports instead of the peel supports, so he's still susceptible to all-ins, he's still susceptible to engages, and he's still susceptible to ganks, because he synergizes better with something that is also susceptible to ganks and won't protect him as well like a Janna would. Now, I don't necessarily know how that will be exactly possible without some changes to, let's say, Janna or Zir in that particular scenario, because honestly, I don't see why you wouldn't just be safe just picking the Janna anyway and just having a Zir kind of do all the work. But they said that on their radar, they're looking into that, and they don't want to make it balanced in a state that if you still want to play a marksman down there, you just get poked for like forever by a Zir or Ziggs or something, and then that's just kind of it. Or you go against something like Cassiopeia, who with her grounding and stuff, your Lucian or your Draven, you're not catching your axes now because grounding is a mechanic that doesn't exist on AD carries that you have to deal with, but does exist on something like a Cassiopeia. Your Lucian, you're trying to engage on her, but she has grounded, so you can't dash to catch up to her, so she just twin fangs you from forever away. Now with the minion aggro changes, at least they can do something about that, but the point is, it really is a question more so than answers right now, because he only just talked about this. The mid-season update is in May, usually, so we're still months away from any finalization. But I thought I would talk about this because, you know, as an AD carry player myself, this does affect me. And some of you guys that are subscribed to me or maybe just have found this video, you might be AD carry players and you're going to have your own opinions about this on that. So also, you know, comment down below with your opinion just in general about this. So maybe I can get some of that feedback to some people to make sure they see that going forwards. But now let's talk about mages a bit, because mages will probably be the most successful class in this transition, which is why in general I talk about mages in the bot lane more so than anything else. Sure, maybe you can run some double melee bot lane stuff, some Fiasco, some Fiesta stuff, go Vi with the Alistair and that level 6, just go all in on people, or Jarvan or something like that. Sure, that's definitely possible, but mages are probably going to be the most successful right off the bat because they have range, and that's a big thing about it. If marksmen aren't necessarily getting kicked out the bottom lane, you're still going to have to play against mages or marksmen in the bottom lane, and that's that you're probably going to want to have range to deal with their range as well. So things like Ryze, Cassiopeia, Ziggs, especially long range stuff, Xerath even maybe, those are probably going to be the most successful right off the bat because you're going to want to be able to keep at a distance like they're able to keep at a distance. And obviously that switches up if you're going to get some melee bot lane, well then you can risk doing something like, hey, I want to play Yasuo with Leona, because we're going into something like Mordekaiser Braum, and now we're all melee range, and it's just a different kind of bottom lane than what we're used to. And I think part of the reason I'm making this follow-up video is because some people were concerned that why do this at all? Is this ruining marksmen? Are you trying to kick out marksmen? Do you hate marksmen? And I think the answer is no. But I think what they want to do is, in the long run, if League of Legends is going to survive, yes, they can keep it fresh by adding new champions, or reworks, or visual updates, or new game modes, or just repolishing older game modes. But ultimately, the whole top lane, jungler, mid lane, and double bot lane, that in itself doesn't have to change. But the fact that the bottom lane is only marksman only right now, that might actually have to change in the long run for League of Legends to survive. And we can make all the jokes we want about League of Legends, you know, not being around in 10 years or anything like that. But Riot as a business and as a company, they want League of Legends to be around 10 years from now, 50 years from now, down the road where, like, you know, a new generation of people inherit the company and they can keep it going. So this is a long-lasting thing. So either from a business standpoint or from a consumer standpoint, they want it to last long. So this change is honestly not too surprising, even if it puts me on the back foot as an AD carry player, because it's going to be an unknown, right? So I'm not necessarily against it, but it is going to be a little bit of an unknown of what this is going to be like. We had a brief taste of it with Ziggs, but honestly that fell off after a while. Certain AD carries like Varus and stuff, you could poke Ziggs down when he's trying to poke you down. Obviously this is on a bigger, grander scale than that, but I do think for the survival of League of Legends and Riot's vision, this was a decision that was eventually going to come. So I'm not too surprised about that actually. Now, as an AD carry player, something I mentioned earlier was, well, in the preseason, if they also balance certain AD carries to be able to survive better in solo lanes, well, then there you go. Right now, you can still be an AD carry player, but you don't have to go bottom lane. You don't have to sit there and wait while all 5 of the enemy team is always collapsing on you because they want control of Dragon, or something like that. Your tower isn't the one that doesn't have fortification because you're in the top lane now. Your top lane Jinx. And your tower also is not very easy to dive and destroy like it is in the bottom lane because they don't have shields for the first like 5 minutes or whatever that is. So, I'm just going to leave the video there actually. In the comment section down below, let's have a conversation more in depth about this. Your opinion on it. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever the case is. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe again. I really would appreciate that, but that is all for this video. So, I don't know which video will be next, because life be quite a mess. So until next time, take care from the Fire Go Die FS, and thank you for watching.